Alrighty, good morning. I'm YourPlayerTwo. Today is Thursday, August 22nd, and today what I want to talk over some times when it's totally okay to be selfish with your gaming channel and your efforts on YouTube. Um, I did not necessarily know, like originally I was going to talk about the Southeast Game Exchange a little bit this morning, but I think I can actually do that tomorrow or when I get there this weekend, so I'll probably save that topic for now. But ultimately, I've been sort of running around like crazy trying to get packed up. I'm going to be catching a really, really early flight tomorrow, like 5 a.m., so that's going to be a real treat. I'm probably not going to bed at like 6 o'clock tonight. But anyways, I do have all that stuff coming up with the Southeast Game Exchange. Neo, what's up, man? How you doing this morning? But today what I wanted to talk about were times when it's okay to be selfish. And that sounds really weird and counterintuitive because I'm a big fan of sharing, whether that's, information or ideas or credit if you do a collaboration with somebody else, for example. Praise, all of these things are wonderful to share, and I think that's absolutely fantastic, and that's usually something I'm a big fan of. But I also think there are some times when it totally makes sense to be completely selfish with your channel. Neo says, sorry I missed you yesterday. No worries, man. I do these pretty early depending on what part of the world you're in, so not a big deal. And one of the first areas where I think it's okay to be selfish is with your vision for your channel. And what I mean by that is, whenever you start your channel, you have some idea generally of where you want it to go, what you want to accomplish with it, who you want to serve, and what kind of content that you want to put out. And one of the things that will happen, as you start to get going with YouTube and everything, is that some people will start to offer you advice on where they think you should take your channel, or certain strategies that they think you should adopt. In a way, you could say I'm technically one of them, but just because somebody gives you advice doesn't necessarily mean that you have to take it. And if something's not in line with your vision, well-meaning as somebody's advice might be, it's on you to make sure you stick with the things that you know are going to get you closer to the vision that you have for your channel. So I don't think there's anything wrong, with being selfish about that, right? If you have a particular direction you want to go and some people are like, I don't know if I like that direction, but that's the right way to go, it's perfectly in alignment with your goals, with your interests, with your passions, with the things that you love to do, then it's on you to sort of protect that and be a little bit selfish and make sure that all of the activities you're doing surrounding it are completely in line with it. Sushi, good morning. How are you today? It's pretty early where you are. So, and that's the thing, if somebody does offer their advice, and it's not necessarily in line with what you want to get done, you don't have to be a jerk about it. You can always just smile and nod and agree, but you don't necessarily have to act on that, right? And again, this is not that these people are bad, right? Some of the people that are going to give you this advice will be like the closest people in the world to you, and they don't, they only want good things for you in a lot of cases, most cases, I would say. But again, if it's not something that you know is right, or the thing that you know you need to be pushing forward with, then there's nothing wrong with being selfish about it and protecting it. I think that's an absolutely great idea. Yes, time to be selfish. I mean, not necessarily in like a bad way, Sushi, but it's there are just times where I think it's appropriate, right? Selfishness isn't always the most terrible thing in the world. I'm struggling with that at the moment. So much advice floating around here. No, it's 1 p.m. there. Awesome. This is prime time for you then, man. And you're right, and that's one of the things that I talked about in one of these previous streams that can make it difficult to find focus, period, is that there can be a lot of advice and conflicting advice, even among people who are well-established and know what they're doing and everything. So it can be kind of hard to find your way, but, when it comes to that kind of stuff, my biggest thing has always been as long as you keep moving, that's the most important thing. Even if you don't get the direction perfectly right, or, even if you think it's the wrong thing, which, that's debatable in and of itself, as long as you're taking some action, I think that's the most important thing. So another area where I think it's okay to be selfish is with your time. And what I mean by that is sometimes, again, YouTube can be a horrific grind, and again, you hear it over and over. YouTube's a marathon, not a sprint, and it takes a lot of consistent action and sort of discipline to make sure that you're creating content on a regular basis to please the algorithm and make sure you're putting out good stuff that, viewers of your channel are going to appreciate. But sometimes you got to be a little bit selfish with your time, right? And what I mean by that is, sometimes even though you're working really, really hard, you need to take some you time, right? Like take a bubble bath, get some margin, relax, chill out, get your head out of the YouTube game. Because one of the things that I've found is, despite the fact that I love working on the channel every single day, and I make it a habit to try to show up and do some channel work every single day, one of the days that I don't really do much is on Sunday, where I try to have one day a week where I just chill out, and it's not that I do absolutely zero work whatsoever, but I scale it back a lot. And for me, that whole showing up every day thing, if I show up and I'm able to just relax for a couple of hours, where normally my baseline for am I showing up every day to work on YouTube is have I put in at least 2 hours of work, or have I produced something tangible, right? So this is like not breaking the chain for me. If I get up and I do a live stream, for me, I get a gold star for the day, right? But on those days where I know that I need to chill out and get some margin, I also give myself credit for that because it also takes discipline to know when to pull yourself out and, sort of decompress a little bit. And one of the things that I found about doing that, or one of the reasons I think margin is so important, is not just for the natural benefits of relaxing and giving your mind and your emotions a break, but also I found that some of the best ideas I have come to me when I'm not trying, right? Like, you're constantly sort of in this loop of trying to figure out what's the next piece of content that I'm going to make, and then how do I make that happen, and what do I need to actually produce that. But when it comes to generating ideas, aside from just like forcing yourself to do it through like a brainstorming session or like that, some of the best organic ideas I've had are on those days where I force myself to not worry about YouTube at all. And I'm happy to tell you, if you're selfish with your time in this way and you sort of protect it and make sure, like, yeah, I am going to have some me time today, the world is not going to collapse. That's one of the great things about being selfish with your time, especially if you've established a good relationship with the people who take the time out of the day to watch your content, is they're usually pretty understanding about that stuff, right? And it doesn't even have to be the time that you aim to create margin for yourself. It could also be like you have a family commitment that pops up or something like that, right? If those things happen, you don't have to worry about, oh man, is my channel going to collapse and dissolve, and is there all my hard work going to be for naught if I take a day? I promise you, it's not, and it's completely alright to be selfish with your time in that moment. Hello, Dad, how are you? Rule number 1, everyone is an enemy. Sushi, that's so dark. Jake, and good morning. I walked in on Bubble Bath. That could be taken a few different ways. Gold Chain, what's up, man? How you doing this morning? Hello, Jake, and bread. More bread. Croissant. Fancy. Neo says, I personally let the games take me, but if it's just a sit-down video, yeah, it can be more difficult. I'm not sure I'm following you there. You mean like let the games that you're playing drive the direction of your content? Is that what you mean? Hey, Big Glitch, how you doing this morning? Thank you for coming back. I appreciate it. So yeah, sometimes you do need to put more work into your channel, but then, well, actually, there's a flip side to that, I guess. Let's see, how do I write this down? I'm trying to think of the best way to explain it. Sometimes when you have to be selfish with your time, it's actually the opposite direction, I think is what I'm trying to get at. That is like, yes, time with family, friends, loved one, all that stuff is really important. But the people who love you most also understand when you need to invest time in the thing that you're passionate about or in what you're trying to build with your channel, right? So sometimes you have to be selfish with your time and say, hey, this is when I create, this is when I work on scripts, this is when I do my editing, this is time that you have to protect, right? Because if you don't, you let people chip away at it, then it becomes very difficult to get things done or stay on a regular schedule or make sure that you're really, like just pounding away at content on a regular basis, which is sort of what you need to be successful in the YouTube space. One example personally that I can think of would be Friday nights, 10 o'clock. I'm always on the Chillcast over on Avedon's channel. He's a nice enough dude to let me, basically be a regular member of the Chillcast and whatnot. And I still have friends who occasionally will be like, hey man, you want to go see a movie? And I'm like, that sounds tremendous. What time are you thinking? They're like, Friday night, like 9 o'clock. And I'm like, can't do it. And it's not that I don't want to hang out with them. It's not that I wouldn't want to see that movie, because, some of my friends have pretty good taste, if I do say so. But ultimately, most of them have come to learn at this point, like Friday nights, Josh is just not available. Like that's when he hangs out on the Chillcast with Avedon and, the rest of those guys, and, streams on YouTube. And, that's because I made an effort to protect that time. It's incredibly rare, unless I have, like, an out-of-town visitor or, like, a family coming up or something like that. I, generally speaking, do not miss a Friday. Occasionally, I might take a night, like, if I've had a long week or if I just know that I need to take some me time. Thankfully, that, Avedon and the rest of the Chillcast are, chill enough, I guess you would say, to allow me to take that time and not, they don't get bent out of shape about it or anything like that. But, yeah, man, be selfish with your time. Sometimes you need to be productive. Sometimes you need some you time protected. I personally, wait, I think I missed something here. So stuff will come up in a game, and then I can talk about it, and then you can't plan some of the best times with the game. That's true, but what you can do is log your time playing a game if you're capturing footage. That's something that I try to do, is just make a timestamp whenever something interesting happens, so it's easier to find it in editing. So kind of in the same vein as time, it's okay to be selfish with your commitments, right? And what I mean by that is, sort of like when you make a commitment to work on YouTube, protecting that commitment and making sure that you get it done, even if someone's like, well, this cool thing's happening, or, I'd love to hang out that day. If you've made a commitment, it's okay to be selfish about it. You can't, and that's the thing, that selfishness can also apply directly to other YouTube activities, right? Sometimes like a collaboration opportunity will pop up, or, maybe you'll get an idea for another video, or something cool will drop where you're like, man, I'd really like to jump on that, make a topical video around this new game, or this new console that just launched. But maybe you've already made a commitment to, work on like a sponsor video or a collaboration opportunity or something like that, and And then you kind of have to be selfish with yourself in a weird way, right? Because there can be that temptation to sort of, be like, oh, you know what, I can just get to that later. But if you make commitments, especially if it's like a collaboration opportunity with somebody else, try not to let, other things that pop up get in the way of that. Because you want to be known as somebody who's reliable and somebody who's good to work with. Because if not, it's going to be kind of hard to maintain good relationships with other content creators who like the idea of collaborating with you on a regular basis. And there's tons and tons of advantage to actually doing collaborations. I missed the eventual endgame because of the channel and couldn't get the time. I finally saw it now. I admire you, dude. That's a sacrifice I'm not sure I would have made. I'm over here like, yeah, make sure you protect your time and be selfish and stay on task with your YouTube channel. I'm missing an Avengers, okay? I commend you because I'm not strong enough. I couldn't have done that, Neo. Absolutely not. Sushi says, Josh refuses to have breakfast with his parents, family, how selfish, but watches you anyway. True and support. True enough. There are days where I've refused to have breakfast, but they're pretty supportive genetic precursors, I have to say. So that's the big thing with commitments. Or the reason I think it's okay to be selfish with that is sometimes the commitment that you've made, again, particularly within like a collaborative arena, is something that's really important, right? And that's really just a component, not so much just as creating a great piece of content that two mutual audiences are going to benefit from, but also helps you like forge deeper relationships and friendships with people who work in the same sort of field that you do, right? Or they have the same goals as you do, and those are really, really helpful people to have around. Golden Shade said, I just made Endgame a topic, so it was mandatory I watch it for content. Well played. That's what I should do. I should just start structuring all of the content around the stuff I'm really super crazy about. But I would definitely be curious to hear your perspective on Endgame, Gold Chain. That would be awesome. New video idea, YP2 rap. That is a hard pass. If anything, I would probably do karaoke, but even that, incredibly long shot, right? Like, I'm not doing any SingStar up here. I think that would be terrible for everybody. Actually, I missed one. So one of the other places I think it makes sense to be selfish, and this is going to sound kind of crappy, but let me give it some context before you jump to the conclusion, like, well, yeah, YourPlayerTwo said that it's okay to be selfish about this, and I think that's really greedy. But I think it's important, and one of the reasons I think it's important to be selfish is with your endorsements. And you're like, what do you mean by endorsements? There are two arenas that come to mind, specifically within the realm of YouTube when you're creating content. One is with shoutouts, because I think a shout-out can actually be really, really dangerous depending on, who you're talking about. And one of the reasons I think it's okay to be selfish with that is it's not so much that you're being selfish so much as you're being discerning, right? And one of the things I can think of is, like, if you have a creator who you met and you're like, oh yeah, they kind of make cool stuff, and you give them a shout-out, but you really haven't explored or done a whole lot of research into who that person is or the type of content they put out, they may put out content that is absolutely horrific. And then by shouting them out, that's almost like an endorsement on your part, right? One of the more recent examples I can think where that might have been problematic is like if you had shout out like Pro Jared, for example, right? Now, I'm not going to dive into that whole controversy. Everybody knows it's been beat to death. I'm not a drama channel. I'm not here to talk about who did what or whatever. But I can say things like that do happen sometimes. And sometimes if you vouch for somebody without really knowing who they are or what their content's all about, that can kind of make you look bad, and it can make people really question, the kind of content that you put out, the kind of person that you are, the kind of creator that you are. So I think it's important to be discerning in those moments. Like if I shout somebody out, or if I give somebody play like on Twitter or something like that, and I'm like, yeah, this person's really awesome, or they made a really cool thing. Normally, I've known that person for a number of months or over a year in some cases, so it's rare for me to just find like a singularly awesome thing, just like, oh yeah, that's rad, and then share it out. And that's the thing, I am all about, sort of not quantity over quality at this point, because I don't think those two are mutually exclusive necessarily, but I do agree with putting out a large body of work content, right? And make no mistake, like even social media updates constitute as content. That's something that helps you grow, but at the same time I think it is smart to exercise some discernment in those moments to make sure that you're not just throwing your endorsement out for anybody, especially if you accidentally. And another arena that I would say that makes sense is like a product or game, right? If somebody like an Amazon seller or a manufacturer says, hey, I'm gonna give you this free stuff, can you go ahead and make a video about it, there can be some temptation there, especially if you're somebody who's new and you haven't really gotten a lot of opportunities like that, to immediately be like, yeah, I'm going to talk about this product and it's going to be totally awesome. And you might even be tempted, even if the product's not particularly awesome, to charge ahead with that narrative because, you obviously want to be kind to the person who gave you the opportunity. But if you find out, or if you, don't do enough research and you find out that product is actually garbage, or if you find things that are seriously, not great about it, and you're up here saying like, oh, this product is amazing, I fully endorse it, and then a bunch of your viewers go out and buy that product and they hate it, then that sort of diminishes your credibility, right? So I think this is another area where it makes sense to be a little bit selfish, or maybe the better word would be discerning about who you're willing to endorse. Gen X, what's up, man? Good morning, afternoon here in the UK where I'm working this week. Pip pip cheerio. Awesome, man. How's it going over in the UK? I'm always doing shoutouts, but when it comes up, yeah, I mean, I think an organic shoutout is totally fine, and I would have very little reservation about shouting out most of the people in this chat, except for Jakin. He's an absolute monster, but everyone else is super great. Hello, Judge. How you doing this morning? So when I do my stream later on, I'll do you a shout out, but yes, you do have to be careful who you're supporting. Right, and that's the thing. It's not necessarily like you want to be a jerk, or it's like, oh, I want to exclude people, or I don't want to be helpful, or, help other creators, get exposure, or, get their content in front of a wider audience. It's just you want to make sure that you know who you're working with, and that you've established some relationship with these people. In a lot of cases, I think it's a good idea. Or even if you don't have a relationship, at least that you've done your due diligence to know, like, you're not going to shout out somebody who's going to be a huge detrimental impact to your channel. Let's see, where am I? I live for other people's drama. Sushi, I'm not saying drama's not fun to admire from a distance. Okay, occasionally it absolutely is, right? There's a reason the Michael Jackson popcorn gif exists. But, I try myself not to be embroiled in it whenever I can help it, which is weird because some of the topics really toe the line in terms of, like, talk about the deeper concepts of, like, relationships with other creators, or, areas of being discerning. That can be kind of murky stuff to work through. I really need to stop getting alerts for these so long after they start. Yeah, I don't know, man. I have no control. I know YouTube, I think there was a video that the Creator Academy actually put out that talked about notifications, and it basically said that, hey, if you go live, or if you have, subscribers, we don't necessarily notify everyone. We will send notifications to the people who we think are most likely to watch your video. And it's weird because a lot of people complain about that, like, how am I going to get my content out in front of people if you don't send them the notification? But honestly, I think it kind of makes sense. That sounds bad, but could you imagine if, like, I don't know how many channels you're all subscribed to, but for me, I'm subscribed to dozens of channels, maybe even over 100 channels that I can think of, possibly more. And if every single time a video went out from one of those, like, my phone would be blowing up 24/7. So, I mean, I can kind of understand the logic. I think it sounds bad from the perspective of a creator who's, like, dying to get their content out in front of more people, but at the same time, from a straight up usability standpoint, because that's the other thing too, is YouTube also has to consider making sure people keep that app installed on their phone, right? And some people don't really know that they can do things like manage notifications, even though, like, at first glance you might be like, well, that's an easy problem to fix. You just, turn off alerts or notifications for that particular app. But some people don't think that way. And if a large percentage of YouTube's user base is like, ooh, I keep getting notifications and this is annoying, I'm going to remove the YouTube app, YouTube totally doesn't want that. So I can understand why they could curtail notifications a little bit, but I can also see how it could be extremely annoying for people that are content creators and they're trying to get their content out in front of more people. Your YouTube is messing up bad with... mine is messing up bad with them? John says productive a couple of days. Tough to be on the road and still get weekly content out there and podcasts. Yeah, dude, like, I used to travel a lot for my job, and I don't know that I could have really done YouTube reliably. Like, even now, like, getting up and doing the 8 a.m. live stream for this experiment through Halloween, like, it can be tough. Like, to make sure you keep ideas rolling, and then, protect that time and then get up early enough, because I struggle. I'm a night owl and an early riser. It's a horrible combo, and I can't get it done without naps. Golden Train says, all content needs awareness to grow. Yeah, I completely agree with that. The only thing is, I think that YouTube has to curtail their ability to help you with the awareness, because they don't want to dissuade people from the platform entirely. But, that's one of the first things I say when people are like, no one watches my videos, and I'm like, did you share it anywhere? And they're like, well, no. Like, that's something that will help, right? Even sharing doesn't necessarily even have to be social media. Like, you call a few friends or family and be like, hey, I'm making YouTube content, you mind checking it out? I think if it's a video, I don't mind being late, but a live stream, I think everyone should get to it no matter what. What, you mean like, you mean like you think notifications should go to everyone who does a live stream? Wait, I don't mind it being late. Oh, okay, I think I see. You don't mind it being late for pre-produced stuff, but you think for live it should instantly notify everyone. I could see that. I mean, I would certainly appreciate it, but then again, and if a bunch of my viewers are on the West Coast, they may not appreciate a 5 a.m. notification on their phone, but, what do I know? So, I already talked about vision, endorsements, time, commitments, and I think the last thing is to be selfish with your boundaries. And this is going to sound kind of weird, but I think it is a healthy thing to have boundaries on YouTube, because the thing is, like, the more you grow your content, the more you start to get to know other creators, or just, viewers who enjoy your channel and they come out on a regular basis to appreciate it. Not every new person who pops up is necessarily your friend or a super fan of your work. Some people definitely will just want to get something from you. Some people will, I don't want to say pretend, but, they'll at least act very interested initially, I think, to sort of gauge your reaction and whatnot. Not to mention, it is the internet, right? I mean, even though the internet brings a lot of wonderful things like this endless library of information at your fingertips, endless possibilities as somebody who creates content, because there are so many platforms that will let you host it now. You know, the internet can still be a scary place, right? The same way, like, out there in the real world, not everyone is out to protect your best interest. That same thing can happen on YouTube and other places online. So, you know, if just because someone's like, hey, you know, I've been watching your videos for 2 weeks, like, you know, like, give me your phone number or something like that, be careful out there, right? Again, not everybody's going to be your best friend despite appearances, and that's an area where I've actually struggled. Like, I'm the kind of dude who, like, as soon as I meet somebody, I'm just like, we're best friends forever now, this is fantastic. And in turn, that lack of discernment on my part has set me up for some rough times, man. Like, I've had some friendships go super south, and it's because, you know, I basically ignored red flags, where I thought, you know, oh, like, oh, this person's pretty cool, but then there was something in the back of my head. I was like, maybe this person's not as cool as I think. Maybe there's some things going on there that I should be a little bit careful of. But, you know, it's my instinct to be like, no, everyone's a beautiful, unique snowflake, and, you know, they need love and friendship and all that stuff. But it does make sense to protect yourself a little bit, right? Be selfish with that. Like, you know, if you set up, like, boundaries for yourself where you're like, yeah, you know, like, I'm going to interact with people, but I'm not necessarily giving out my phone number or, you know, other direct means of communication to everyone, nothing wrong with that, right? Whatever boundaries you decide are appropriate for you or the things that you feel safe and comfortable with, protect those. Don't let somebody try to be like, you know, break those down or circumvent them or be the exception to it if you're not 100% sure or you haven't built that deeper relationship. Because, you know, again, you've seen some pretty horrific stuff happen to people on the internet. There are certainly no shortage of horror stories about meeting up in person with people from the web, or, you know, talking to somebody at great length who you really don't have a good idea of who they are. And this thing, you can't necessarily be right 100% of the time. All you can do is do your best, but I think that's something, you know, that's keen to be, you should be aware of, I guess is what I'm saying. So, yeah, I think those are 5 areas where I think it totally makes sense to be selfish. With your vision for your channel, with your endorsements to people or products or, you know, services or industries that you're willing to endorse, with your time in terms of protecting it, not only from, like, a productivity standpoint, but also from the perspective of making sure you have some margin to make sure that, you know, you can chill out and get your head out of the YouTube game a little bit. With your commitments to make sure that you're getting the things done on time that you said that you would get done, and then finally with your boundaries with people, right? Like, whatever you define for yourself that is, you know, feels safe and comfortable and everything, protect it. You know, be careful out there. The internet and the world is a scary place, and, you know, what's that Rocky speech? It's a mean, nasty place that will beat you down if you let it. I don't want anyone to be skeptical necessarily, but, you know, I think it is smart to exercise good judgment, and to that end, being selfish with your boundaries is probably not the worst thing you could do. I appreciate a 5 a.m. notification. Well, you're a little bit different. You know, you're actually forcing yourself to get up for academic reasons, Cynthia, so. But then again, I get Twitter you do as well, so I know when you're starting. Yeah, I mean, it's almost always going to be 8 a.m. or shortly thereafter, depending on if I'm running a little bit behind. Although I've been pretty good so far, I think. Usually I've been live by like 8:01 or 8:02. So yeah, I'm too terrified to ask about teaming up unless I've known them. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I'm not necessarily terrified of. I think as long as you're leading with a value proposition, if you have a clear value proposition for another creator, or if somebody you've gotten to know or you've hung out on their channel for a while, you know, I don't think I'm necessarily afraid of that, as long as I've got something strong to lead with, right? As long as you're showing, like, value, not just for yourself. Anybody can, you know, ask for a collaboration because, like, I'm going to get a lot out of this. We should be best friends. But I think the better strategy is to lead with, hey, here's where I think your audience and my audience might benefit, or here's something that I think would be helpful, whether that's you know, donating your time for editing for that project, or coming up with a really great idea that you think their audience is really going to appreciate, that's unique, that they might not be able to do on their own, whether that's somebody else who may not have the same production capabilities you do, but they have the ability to tell a story or be more dynamic on camera than you are. All, you know, sort of, you know, chocolate peanut butter situations, I guess, that are ripe for collaboration. Oh Lord, let's see. Not everyone's an enemy. No, that's not the point. So I'm just saying that there are people out there who may not have your best interests at heart, and, you know, it behooves you to maintain some awareness. You know, the kind that I just demonstrated I did not, by pointing out how much I did terribly with this in the past. Yes, as long as I am on the internet, as long as I am on it, the internet will never be safe. Judge, I know you're a big sweetie. There's a reason you have my phone number, my friend. When Josh and I had that falling out, it got messy. Glad we agreed to bury the hatchet once and for all in an epic Pokemon battle. I thought that was going to go a different way, since you're a bouncer and whatnot. I thought you were going to be like, we settled it over 18 rounds of bare knuckle boxing, and now we're still friends because I won. On that note, mind if I share your phone number here in chat? You can, I will have to unpublish the video quickly, you know, change my number, and I'll be like, they got me again. Those horrible people over at Gen X. Pokemon battles solve everything. I've seen Pokemon battles get downright heated before. People can get pretty invested in those. So, LL Judge. Yes, that is entirely my phone number, as Judge has accurately pointed out in the chat. Neo says, or if you ask someone and they'll see is the numbers that bothers me so much. All they see is the numbers? Wait, what do you mean, Neo? Shaboinky Boy says, enemies must be eliminated. That's kind of terrifying from somebody who has Invader Zim as an icon. I just want to point that out, Shaboinky Boink. Sorry, that name just gets me every time. So that's sort of my spiel for this morning. I got a few minutes to hang out here. So what are you guys all doing? You know, what are you going to be doing for leisure time over in the UK, John? I'm curious. This weekend, again, I will be flying out 5 a.m. on Friday, and I might live stream from the airport again because, you know, I want to make sure I still get something out on Friday, even if I'm going to be traveling. But yeah, I'll be going down there. I'm going to be on the lookout to see what kind of stuff I can find, because there are so many great vendors at the Southeast Game Exchange, and that's definitely one of my favorite shows I've been to. I'm definitely going to be looking for a Vita for Avedon. I am determined to turn him onto the platform. We'll see. Oh, teaming up, all they will see is the numbers on the chat. Yeah, and yeah, that's the thing. Like, I've had people... I had one dude hit me up, this was like last year, but he was like weirdly confident about it too. The guy was like, hey, I've been watching your content. You do good stuff. I was like, thanks, man. I really appreciate that. And then, like, I sort of had the Idris Elba eating hot wings sort of moment, because then he follows it up with, he's like, yeah, we should collaborate. I think it'd be really good for you. Our channels are in alignment, and I'm experiencing explosive growth. Which, to me, that's a huge red flag. If someone says, hey, let's collaborate because I can do a ton for you because I'm experiencing explosive growth, naturally, my reaction to that is, if you're experiencing such explosive growth, why do you want to collaborate with me so badly? And I went over to the dude's channel, and he did have some video game content, right? But he also had, basically, it was just like video after video after video of nothing but like weed-based content. Which, you know, no judgment there, right? It's legal in some parts of the country, and that's great. But when he's like, oh no, our brands are really consistent in alignment, I'm like, dude, I never talk about weed on my channel. Like, that's something I would never do. Presumably. I mean, I guess unless there was a game that was like a weed man simulator, but even then, I don't know that I'd put this on this channel. So, like, sometimes people will be like, oh yeah, you got, you got, like a high number of views or subscribers or something, and they see the numbers, and they immediately assume, like, I want to work with that guy, but then they push forward with a collaboration offer with, like, no familiarity with you, no real experience, and that can be really, really quite weird. But a good opportunity to say no, I think. I may also make an entire video about when it's okay to say no, and polite ways to do so without coming off like a jerk. False enemies must be captured alive and experimented on with no anesthesia. Judge! It's like 8:30 in the morning, man. Too dark. Too dark. John says it's all work, no leisure, sadly. Flying home Friday. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, man. I thought you might at least get a little bit of downtime. I was supposed to go to Germany earlier this year, but that opportunity fell through and somebody else ended up having to go. Woo airport live stream. Yeah, I haven't done one since I went out to E3. I was like, yeah, I guess I could try that. Explosive diarrhea seems more like it. Wait, what? That's also kind of dark shit, boinky boink. So I don't have the confidence for that. I can't. What, you mean to ask somebody for a collaboration? Well, just build it up, man. Try small things where you get rejected, and then just become comfortable with it, because, you know, it's inevitable, right? Everyone gets rejected sooner or later, no matter how, charming or how well-meaning you may be, or how sweet the offer is that you're putting forward. You're gonna get shot down sometimes, but that's okay. It's just part of the process. It's like, taking calculated, managed risk, right? Like, if you take unmanaged risk and you're just, an idiot when you pursue things that are outside of your comfort zone, that could be dangerous. But, small, calculated, managed risk, not particularly dangerous, right? If you emailed like 10 people that you really like on YouTube, and you're like, hey man, let's collaborate on something, and you get 10 no's back, does it really affect you in any meaningful way? At the end of the day, I would say no, because you can at least, with confidence say, I tried. I gave it my best shot. And in a world of 7 billion people, trust me, there are still other people you can reach out to. That's the thing, like, even when I've tried to collaborate with people and they've been like, no thanks, not for me, I don't take it to heart, because they have their own vision for their channel, right? They have their own things that they think make sense for their audience, and who knows their audience better than they do, presumably. So, it's never like a personal attack or something. If someone tells you no, well, oftentimes it's not even a reflection on your character or how they feel about you. It's just not the right opportunity for them. There's nothing wrong with that. You know what Josh needs? Tony Stark glasses. I don't know if I could. I don't think I could pull off Tony Stark glasses. If you're talking about the ones that the ones that were, I'm trying to spoil anything, that were present in a recent Marvel movie, they are fantastic, but I don't know that I have the confidence for those glasses, right? Maybe. I mean, I would certainly try them on, but plus I don't spend a lot of time in the sun anyways. Yes, everyone needs those glasses. I don't know if everyone needs those glasses. Those glasses were a bit dangerous. Good morning, Diggs. How are you today? Maybe it's cynical, but with every proposition I ask, what's in it for you? Why are you asking? Right, and that's the thing. I mean, like, I think it's healthy to be skeptical, right? And I mean, it's not, it's not like some pointed attack on other YouTubers that, propose like a particular collaboration. Like, it's good to be discerning just in real life, right? Again, it's I keep going back. It's like going to your high school reunion and then some dude who you only barely remember is like, oh hey, it's so good to see you again, let me tell you about this investment opportunity. Immediate red flag, right? Like, nobody wants to get pulled into some pyramid scheme. And I think the same is true with YouTube or offers of collaboration, especially from internet strangers you don't even know that well. If I've talked to you at some great length and you come up with an idea, I'm way more likely to entertain that idea than somebody who just randomly pops up. They're like, oh, hey, let's collaborate. Like, I don't even know who you are, right? It'd be like somebody just randomly showing up at your house and, like a door-to-door salesman or something. Like, I know you're not coming here for my benefit. Like, nobody's that altruistic. They just go, door-to-door just being like, oh, yeah, let me do something awesome for you today. I'm sorry for my... It's okay. I like dark humor. I just thought that was pretty dark. I'm trying to stay in that happy, like, I try to wake up, like, Hobbit mentality every morning, right? Like, I'm going on an adventure. I can't... I'll get rejected first. I know Pokemon Battle... Yes, Pokemon Battles will solve all of your problems. Ultimately, that's the big point that I've been driving towards, Neo. Shamogi Boy says, rip Spider-Man MCU. I know, right? Ugh. I could spend the next 30 minutes talking about exactly that. Gold Chain says, you got the hair though, bro? Maybe a little bit. I don't know, I think his is more like uniformly, like all of it is up. I do like a faux hawk kind of thing where it just sort of spikes in the middle. I think it looks more like Jimmy Neutron personally. But yeah, I'm not opposed to trying the Stark glasses. Maybe someday I'll try to find a pair. I'm sure there are replicas all over like Amazon right now of people trying to cash in on that look. I just want to work with people I look up to because I look up to... Sorry, I got to meet my hero. You look up to who? I did not catch all of that, Neo. I apologize. Always invest with shady people. 9 out of 10, you get scammed, but that one time you gain big, right? Right? Like that Nigerian prince who keeps emailing me. Amazing opportunity. I can't believe nobody's cashed in on this yet. He just needed a little help. For example, some guy is soliciting clips for his channel trailer. Absolutely. But that was the thing. So what he's talking about, John from Gen X was actually in the channel trailer for this channel. And actually, I think that was actually a good way to go about it. I was pleased with that because ultimately the narrative for the channel trailer wasn't driven by me. It was driven by everybody who watches me. And I didn't coach anybody like, ooh, make sure you say that I provide helpful content or make sure that you say I know how to do this. I literally just said, hey, can you record like, I think it was 1 to 2 minutes worth of video and I would edit it into a channel trailer. And that was helpful for me, not only because I felt like it gave a more genuine look at what the channel has to offer, but it also, was also communicated to me that the kind of content that I needed to be focusing on. I think I've done that in a better way this year. But yeah, the channel trailer for YourPlayerTwo, actually I should probably update that sometime. It's getting a little long in the tooth now. It's over a year old. I should either redo that video with collaborations again, or I don't know, maybe I should just do one solo this time and reference the old one. I don't know. That's something to think about. But yes, you're right. Cheeky move, John. But I agree. It's horrible. My dark dwarven nature makes your Hobbit optimism more profound and colorful. Every Costello needs an Abbott. That's true. I mean, right? Every Frodo needs a Gimli. Hoobit was a typo I fully embrace. I think that's probably alright, man. I want to work with is because I look up to them. That's it. Like meeting my hero sort of thing. There are people who inspire me. Yeah, I think that's fine, man. I mean, if you have the ability to, and you've gotten to know people a little bit more, I'm sure most people will at least consider it. Or, I would think that a lot of people that say no may even offer advice, especially if you're dealing with like a larger YouTuber. But it's It's one of those things I think, and the other thing too that I think helps with collaborations is if you have an established history of collaboration, right? Like if you have already worked with other creators and that's sort of prevalent on your channel, or you see that somebody's already done collaborations and get an idea of the kind of work they produce, and also sort of the social proof of seeing that somebody else who runs in our particular circles in the gaming community, cared enough about you or vouched enough for you to be like, yeah, I'll go on that dude's channel. And that is more powerfully persuasive than someone just taking your word on it, especially if they're not very familiar with you. You mean channels you aspire to be like, Neo? I'm excited to see how you'll update your channel. Me too. It's one of those things that's kind of been like rattling around in the back of my head. Like there are a lot of other things I have to do for the channel, like make sure content like this is ready to go every morning, or just the other things that I'm working on to try to provide more value that actually exists outside the realm of YouTube. I've got some exciting, very big things that I'm working on that are taking a lot more time than I expected it would. But I am. I'm curious to see as well, Sushi. John says, my taxi is here, gotta run, all the best. Always a pleasure, man. Safe travels. Back from the UK, hopefully it's a smooth ride. I think every YouTuber should have a trailer and then an over-the-top Japanese commercial trailer, a little like The Simpsons. That would be fun to create, although I don't know that I'd have the editing skill to do it. There would be a lot of, like, wipes and over-the-top sound effects and everything. Ooh, speaking of which, Sushi, I haven't put those Animal Crossing sound effects on here yet. I need to do that. I tried to find some the other day, but it wasn't sound effects, it was just Animal Crossing music. So I need to find some actual sound clips so that I can play it exactly when you show up to harangue me about this horrible dog of a game you keep trying to get me to get into. Ooh, hold on. Just messed up my screen. There we go. But I never want to just be them, otherwise, have my channel, wait. I never want to just be them, otherwise, why have my channel? I have to be myself as well. Yeah, absolutely. Who was it? Mark the Martian quoted somebody the other day. It was like, you do you, because you can't do me. Like, gotta be yourself. There's no point in trying to be a different creator. Gotta go later, Judge. Thanks for stopping by, man. I appreciate you darkening the place up a little bit with some of your, not really obscene, but, darker humor than what I would normally see at 8:30 in the morning. Animal Crossing sound effects. Yeah, like, and that's the thing, I thought I would have more technical improvements for the stream this week, but I've been so caught up with, like, Southeast Game Exchange stuff and making sure I've got all my ducks in a row for that. And to some degree, I'm not even sure that I do, right? Like, I have the points laid out that I want to talk about in that presentation, and I've been sort of split on it. I have, like, two schools of thought. One is, which I can't decide if it's confidence or if it is procrastination. Part of me is like, if you try to rigidly structure the whole thing, it's probably not going to come off as well as if you just play to your strengths, which for me is just sort of being chatty and being very casual, very laid back, and just talking about it in the way that it makes sense to me. But then another school of thought says, this is your first opportunity to really do public speaking, as a creator at a convention, which is an incredibly fun and exciting opportunity for me. Like, I could not be more pleased that Austin was willing to offer to allow me to do that. But it's, I suppose part of me thinks like, oh, maybe I should like practice it rigidly and just know it front to back beyond those points and all these like funny anecdotes and story that I'll tell to sort of support and give flavor to the main points that I want to impart to creators that are there or aspiring creators that are there. But the answer is probably going to be somewhere in the middle is my best guess. I think that I'll probably, double check to make sure I've got a good grasp of the fundamental things that I want to cover, but then not worry about fleshing it out in advance, because odds are good that if I try to, one, I'm unlikely to remember the entire thing, right? Like there's a good chance that I wouldn't remember every single thing that I would want to communicate verbatim. But then also if I script it out too much and I have like a visual aid nearby where it's like, okay, I have notes up on my phone or a tablet or laptop or something like that, then I might just be reading it to people, and then I would come off incredibly stiff and not very organic or relatable. So probably going to be some combo of both. I imagine I'll probably rehearse making sure I can remember things as much as I can without referring to the notes, but not at such great length that I can't sort of improv on the spot, I guess. Because for these I don't have everything scripted out. Like a couple of the first ones I had stuff scripted up. That's because I thought they were going to be pre-produced video before I decided to go forward with this experiment. But we'll have to see. Imagine you have an Isabella talking sound effect and you yell at her to cancel your 2 o'clock meeting. I'll see what I can do. That sounds like a lot of fun. Should screenshot that for later. Like I said, if I were lucky enough to team up with Josh, I could do a sit down and talk video games, not play, because it seems we do different games. Yeah, I mean, we get to know each other a little better. I'm willing to have that conversation. I'm not, it would be a conversation I'd be willing to have. It would be pretty cool to have a B-list actor in a channel trailer, like that original actor for Shang Tsung for Mortal Kombat. I think that would be pretty sweet, too. I have seen people do that with their channel trailers before. Mayor, what's up, man? How you doing? You missed me talking about the main areas where I think it's okay to be selfish, which I will recap very, very quickly. And that is with your vision for your channel, right? It's yours. You have an idea of where you want to take your content and ultimately your channel as a whole. So even when people give you advice, well-meaning as it might be, you don't necessarily have to indulge every piece of advice. And some of those people, it's not that they're bad people, they're not out to get you or anything like that, but their vision or what they think you ought to be doing may not be in alignment with what you know you should be doing. So I think it's okay to be selfish with that. Also with your endorsements, right? Be careful about the people you shout out, the products, services, games that you're willing to endorse, because sometimes you can betray your audience inadvertently. Like if you point them to somebody and they turn out to be not the best dude or lady dude, and that's kind of on you because you gave them an endorsement or a shout out on your channel. Same thing with games or products. If somebody sends you free stuff and you're like, ooh, especially if you're new to that whole process and you're like, this is exciting because I've been given a product, like I'm making progress. If it's not a great product and you push forward and tell people it is a good product and then a bunch of people buy it and it's garbage, then you've just done a huge disservice to your own reputation. So I think it's important to be selfish with your endorsements and offer some discernment. Same thing with your time. Make sure that you protect the time that you have set aside to have some margin away from YouTube, because I think that's when great ideas tend to manifest. And it's also just probably good for your mental health to chill out and take a breather from the constant grind of content creation. And then on the flip side, also make sure you protect the time where you need to be creating, because there's a lot of people in your life who will want to chip away at that time. Again, not because they're bad people, because they care about you, they want to spend time with you, or there are other commitments in your life. And sometimes you just have to put your foot down and be like, no, from 6 to 8, this is when I focus on my channel and I get work done, or, at midnight or at 8 in the morning or whenever it is that you set it aside. And then also with your commitments, making sure that if you make a commitment to somebody, especially in a collaborative opportunity, you have the margin to get it done. I have not been great at this in the past. Case in point, recently I did a collaboration over on Sid Spacey's channel, and I didn't get my clip to him until the very last second, and I feel awful about it. And JLove81, who I'm going to hang out with and feel a tremendous amount of guilt this weekend at the Southeast Game Exchange, is still waiting on an intro for me that I haven't gotten done to go over on her channel. Jen, if you see the recap of this, again, I'm so sorry. It's not that you're not a priority for me, you are. I've just been, tired and slammed and over-caffeinated. And then finally with your boundaries, which, again, I think it's just important to be selfish with the things you are willing to do and not do on your channel, especially when you're meeting strangers on the internet. I think it makes sense to be smart and discerning about the people you're willing to, give your time to, right? Or the people you're willing to interact with. And if people are like, hey, let's do this, or they try to put you on the spot and say, hey, let's give me your phone number or something like that, be careful. There's some bad dudes out on the internet, not of the NES variety necessarily. I'm selfish with my channel, not my real life. Well, yeah, I'm not sitting here like, be selfish with every aspect of your life. I think that's a horrible plan, because some people, not even just necessarily just in the gaming community, but in really any industry, I guess I should say, will be incredibly selfish with ideas or information or tips or things that they find. And I think that's kind of silly. And I think really what drives that is a scarcity mindset. I think people think that, success or the ability to be successful on YouTube is something that is somehow a one-for-one competition or a zero-sum game, where it's like, ooh, if that person gets all the success, there's not going to be any success left for me. And that's just not how that works, especially considering I think about 20 million new people will be coming online this year. It's going to be a constant stream of new creators and new people who are willing to absorb that content. So, if you know somebody who's like, constantly like, ooh, I would love to share tips with you, but I can't. It's like the secret sauce to my success, and then you might replicate it, then I wouldn't be successful. That's not going to happen. It's just not how that works. Did you just say lady dude? I did indeed. When you have to make an apology video because you endorsed the wrong person, yeah, I mean, I've seen people do that before, and I've seen people make statements like defending somebody's behavior, and then they get the whole story, and then they have to backtrack and then make an apology for defending that person. That's not a position I ever want to be in if I can help it. But that's the thing, too, is like, even if you are, people can make mistakes, right? And what I've found is that, by and large, at least on my channel, people have been more forgiving than I would have expected. And naturally, I think we tend to build up in our heads like if we make a misstep or if we miss a commitment or something like that, that's the end of the world. Not always the case, especially when you have a bunch of delightful people who check out your content on a regular. And again, some people have been like how come you don't have 100,000 subs yet? Which I think is adorably high praise, and I appreciate it. But ultimately, if you gave me the choice of can I have 100 people who really like what I do and they're willing to come hang out with me at 8 a.m. on a Tuesday, or 100,000 people, I would take 100 every time. I think that's infinitely more valuable and certainly more personally fulfilling for me. Now, I'm a dude, she's a dude, he's a dude, we're all dudes. Not right, everyone's a dude. You know, dude is not discriminatory. But just to be safe, to make sure nobody thinks that, you know, I am trying to be discriminatory, I'm not. Just, I feel like I'm giving like the Thor speech to Valkyrie right now. Kind of like Tanika. Wait, I don't know. I'm not following you on that one, Shiboinky Boink. I apologize. But to be fair, it is kind of early. We're all human and we all make mistakes, but we all grow as well, and I think it's amazing with YouTube to show that growth, and people can learn from that as well. Sorry to go deep. No, man, by all means. I mean, this is the part of the live stream where it's kind of discussion. I get to listen to your insights as much as, you know, kind of dispense my own, right? And I will definitely take all the help, and that's the only reason I like the live format so much, is I can make a statement and, you know, somebody can disagree with me, or they can have a completely different spin on the topic that I hadn't considered, and I can learn about it in real time, right? I don't have to sort of asynchronously sort of put out content and then wait for somebody to respond, and maybe that comment comes like 3 weeks later, and then I'm like, ooh, that would have been, you know, a little bit cooler to know in the moment. Dick says, I've been figuring out some neat-to-me tricks lately with streaming, and that's what I want to make videos about, sharing something creative for others to use in their own way. I think that's great. Again, I think that mentality of sharing or documenting your process and, you know, finding a way to make that accessible to other people so that they can, you know, do better on their own channels. I mean, that's what my channel is all about, right? I think I just think it's a good way to live, period, generally speaking, but I also notice that on YouTube, like, not everyone's quick to share stuff like that. You know, some people, and especially in the industry that I work for my day job, like in IT, like if people find solutions to problems or better ways to do things, sometimes they'll just hoard that information because they think, you know, if they keep it close to themselves and they refuse to share with anybody else, it makes them look better. And I think that is an incredibly toxic mentality to take, or to have, I guess I should say. Bear says, really great points. I've been doing this with my mates when every day they want to have a session of games, and I just say, no, I can't, I need to work on my channel today. And that's hard, right? Like, I've got a buddy right now, Kyle, who I love. He's an amazing dude, love him to death. He's been one of my best friends for years, and we both played some No Man's Sky over the weekend. He's apparently made a ton of progress on the mutual base that we've built on this moon that we discovered together. And he's like, you know, it'd be great if you would go check it out. And it's like, dude, I definitely want to check it out, but like, this has to take priority. You know, again, it's not a commentary on my friend. He's a delightful human being, and I love him. But at the same time, I also know that, you know, he loves me enough to respect that, you know, when I say I got to work on this stuff, that he'll be okay with it. Yeah, if it wasn't important to me, I wouldn't be pursuing it. So, but that's, again, not always an easy conversation to have. And sometimes friends will peace out on you. Like, I've had friends who have not liked what I do, or, you know, when I don't spend enough time with them because I'm working on something that's important to me, and they start putting distance, and then those people just sort of disappear entirely, which, you know, the way I see it is good for them, right? If I'm not giving you what you need as a friend and you need to get that somewhere else, I totally get it. But I just can't compromise my vision for the channel or the things that I want to accomplish in my life to drop everything and you know, do what you want to do every single time. So in that way, the same way I don't get super bent out of shape when I see that I lose subscribers, like, you know, it fluctuates, right? Like, some weeks I'll gain a bunch of subscribers, sometimes I will gain less subscribers, and I'll see people are actually leaving, but I don't look at it as loss. Again, I've said this over and over, I don't look at losing subscribers as loss, I look at it as refinement, right? You are finding the people who really like your content, and the people who really are not nuts about what you make are taken off. I think that's a good thing. That's not something to be terrified of. The only way losing subs would really concern me would be if I was losing 300 subs a month and gaining none. At that point, I would have to be like, what am I doing? How did I tank my channel? What horrible thing have I done to cause this to happen? You don't know what TanaCon is. The YouTuber Tana Monk decided to create a convention because she hated VidCon, and thousands of fans ended up sitting out. Oh! No, I think I do remember hearing about this. I just didn't know the name, I don't think. But that would not be the first time that's happened in our internet-connected world either. Wasn't there also supposed to be, like, a massive festival of sorts, like out in the islands somewhere? And then a bunch of people showed up, and they had literally nothing there to sustain the rush of people that paid for tickets to get there. I think they made a whole documentary about it on Netflix, as I recall, but I haven't watched it. Do you find that when you find such a special game or topic that it's not work, it just swells into passion and you get this fire in you? Absolutely. I think a great game can absolutely instill that. For me, it was Dragon Quest Builders 2. Tremendous game. I have so many videos that I would like to make on it, but I have to stop and evaluate, does this make sense for the channel? When the answer is no, gotta kill your darlings, and I hate that. Mary says 100%. I love my mates. I'm down to have a game session most of the time, but they get it. They know I'm working towards something. I'm doing something I love, but it's never an easy conversation, right? Because, and that's the thing, like, it's so easy to feel guilty in those moments because, you know, it's one thing to just, you know, sit there at a high level and be like, no, like, this is important to me, and they ought to be the understanding if they're my friends, but, you know, oftentimes it's not that our friends necessarily want to get in the way of the things that we want to achieve, like, unless they're a really crappy friend, but most of the time these are people that, you know, we've known for years or we already have a really deep established relationship with, and it just feels bad letting them down, right? You know, they just want to hang out and have a good time, you know, make some memories. I think those are all amazing things, but, you know, again, those are the sacrifices we make as content creators, right? You know, it's not just that, you know, you sacrifice time, you know, doing other things you might want to, like just play a game for fun or just like binge on the new Netflix show or something like that. Sometimes it means impacting the people that we care about, and you having to say no to them. That's not comfortable. I've had mates go since YouTube, but then gained so many doing the channel. So, like you said, being selfish. Yeah, because that's the other thing that I found is if you lose in one area of life, or you're finding, you know, what you perceive to be loss in some area, but you're continuing on a different path, you tend to make up the shortfall somewhere else, right? It's just ebb and flow, I guess. I'm not to that point yet. If I feel that fire I have to go on. What you mean? You're not always motivated? Is that what you mean, Neo? Because, I mean, it's a, you know, if you're occasionally in a funk, that's fine. That happens to everybody. That's totally normal. I think it hits creative people particularly hard, right? You know, it's what we make is, you know, often entertaining, or it's something that you dream up, or it's something completely artistic, and in that way, it can be a lot more difficult to gauge the quality or value of what we have to offer, which in turn can make it kind of hard to stay on that train sometimes. If you wake up, you're just like, oh my god, is this going to resonate with people? Is this really what I want to do? You know, is this good enough? Which I think is, you know, the whole good enough fallacy is a horrifying thing to battle if you're trying to get content out on a regular basis. But if I find a game but it's not doing well, but I love it, so I have to do it. Oh, okay, wait. You're talking about, like, if there's a game that's not particularly popular with the masses, but you love it, then you feel compelled to make that content. Well, and that's the thing, like, that's usually when we look at a game, we're like, ooh, that game didn't sell very well. Sometimes what we call a game that didn't sell very well is still hundreds of thousands of copies, right? Just because it didn't sell 10 million, you know, in its first month or something like that, doesn't mean the game's an unmitigated failure. And even the games that you might think like, ooh, this isn't very popular, someone out there for just about any video game you could make a video about is rabid about that game, right? And if you're the person that provides the content, I mean, you can capitalize on these sort of sub-niches of gaming very easily if you're the kind of person who can give that content to them. Because, I mean, those people, those fans, are probably looking for content that's probably hard for them to find because they're like, you know, I'm trying to think of a good example. Like, if someone's like a Katamari super fan, but the only thing they ever find are Call of Duty videos, and they're just, you know, trying to find what they're looking for, that can be really refreshing. I think you can actually build an audience more quickly than you would expect using that strategy, Neo. Definitely a balance. I play games for fun that I'd never make content on. I play games for videos, I play games with my mates, and then I need to also balance work and an actual social life. Yeah, that's rough, man. Like balancing work, social life, productivity, all those things can be a real grind sometimes. Like, I've had no views on a series, but I have to do it because I love the game so much, is a problem I have. Well, I mean, and that's the other thing, too, is, like, you know, if you have content that doesn't necessarily fit the mold for your channel, it might make sense to make another channel where, you know, the purpose of that channel is not growth and you know, trying to blow it up to become like a pro YouTuber or something like that. That could just be a dumping ground for the creative ideas that you feel compelled to make as a creator, but you just want to have fun with, right? I've toyed with that idea myself. My social life is YouTube. I can understand that. You know, I spend more time with YouTube friends than real life friends at this point in my life, I think. But also, I feel like that's sort of dismissive. I use it basically to differentiate people I know online versus people I know in real life and hang out with on a regular. It's not that you're not real, but you know what I mean. So broken. You're not broken and backwards. Like, we are actual people. I am a person talking to you, Neo. You know, just because they're online doesn't mean people are less valid. They're just less visible in a weird way. So, but on that note, I am going to have to kill the stream here because I got to go get ready for work. Thank you guys for hanging out today. I really appreciate it. Mayor, Neo, Sushi, John, Shaboinky Boink, Diggs. Who else was on here? Judge. And anybody else I'm forgetting. Beck. Thank you guys for hanging out this morning. I really appreciate it. And then tomorrow there will not be a live stream at the normal time because I will be at the airport. So I may live stream from the airport. If not, I'll probably do something from the hotel whenever I get squared away down in Greenville for the Southeast Game Exchange. And I would say keep an eye on the channel this weekend. I will probably live stream at least once or twice from there. But if we don't talk between now and then for some reason, wish me luck because this presentation is terrifying, right? I don't want to mess it up. So, anyways, if I don't talk to you guys, please enjoy the rest of your weekend. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday, and I will catch you guys later. All right.